Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw, and I'm here with Josh Bush, who is the CEO of Avenue 2 Travel in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. And about a week ago, Josh was on a panel of fellow Virtuoso travel advisors, travel agencies, and he has a very interesting story to tell about how he's fared during the pandemic and some interesting solutions to actually working from the road. So we're going to talk to Josh both about how the pandemic affected his travel agency, what he did, and what he sees for the future in terms of future bookings, the future of luxury travel. And we're going to find out about all that and more on Insider Travel Report. Josh, first of all, great to see you. First of all, how are you and where are you now? I saw you a couple of weeks ago, but now you're in someplace different, right?
James, thank you so much for having me here today. It was great to see you and all of our colleagues and friends in Las Vegas at Virtuoso Travel Week this past year. But as you're all about to find out, I have been traveling the country throughout the pandemic. Wanderlust is a thing that is ingrained in me at a very young age. And so to be trapped at home throughout this entire thing was just not going to work. So I had to figure out a way of getting on the road. And so I'm currently in Park City in Utah at the beautiful Waldorf Astoria here, just in canyons outside of the main area of Park City.
No, that's great. And I know you've been zooming around the country. I've been doing it too, but I've actually been doing the old way with airlines and stuff. So I started back in September trying to get back into it. And I've been traveling almost ever since with a little break. But your solution is unique. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But first, let's talk about your travel agency, what it was like before the pandemic hit, and then what happened to it. And then we'll talk about how you're emerging. So before that, Avenue 2 Travel in Bryn Mawr, and I know I actually went to school not too far from there, so I know Bryn Mawr. But what was your agency like before in terms of?
Yeah, so go ahead. Avenue 2 is a full service travel management company and leisure host affiliated with Virtuoso. We have a little over 115 team members, kind of scattered all throughout the country. And going into the pandemic in December of 2019 and then January and February of 2020 were our best months ever. Right. I think everybody in the industry just, was on that amazing trajectory. And then all of a sudden the brakes were thrown on. Like so many, we had to make some very, very difficult decisions. I think that we were, quite frankly, we were caught blindsided. Mm-hmm. Going into that best year ever, we had, so many bookings throughout 2020 that if we were insulated from, I think, a minor recession, but by no means did we have any clue whatsoever that we were going to have to refund, almost all of Q2, Q3, and Q4 of our bookings for, particularly on the leisure and definitely on the corporate side. So we had to make some very difficult decisions as far as reductions in staff, and we put the majority of our company on furlough. I asked my staff to essentially work twice as hard for, in many cases, less than half of what their overall compensation was. Right. And that was a really difficult, challenging time. But there were a number of strategic benefits that came out of the pandemic. And one, it reaffirmed our strong culture and our team where they were not going to go down without a fight. They right. did not want the pandemic to take away an amazing career that they had all worked very hard for. And so one of the things that came out of it is that while we had this hiatus from booking travel, it enabled us to focus a lot on project management. And so we were able to get some things done that we would not have been able to just because we would have been busy with normal bookings.
So what kind of things did you end up focusing on?
So we were really good about training advisors, new advisors, as well as experienced advisors to not just be, how do you be a professional travel advisor, but how do you be an Avenue 2 travel advisor? How does Virtuoso come into play? How do all of the hotel programs that we are a part of come into play? And so we used to do that in person in our office, and we couldn't do that anymore. So we virtualized that, and that we took all of our leadership team, we videoed them, we professionally developed it. And we built what we call the Avenue 2 roadmap. And so now, rather than doing all this in person, we combine 24/7 online computer-based training with one-to-one mentoring, and then also small group classes to really kind of make sure that everybody was fostered together. And James, one of the other things that was really interesting is being a host agency with advisors across the country. We had the majority of which were in our physical office, and then others all home-based. And quite frankly, whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, there was this perceived inequity between those that were in the office and those that were home-based. And the one thing that the pandemic did is it created equity across everybody.
Right. And
that brought and solidified our culture, because we got really good at this Zoom thing. We've got really good at utilizing Microsoft Teams. And I think that, I look at our leadership team and what they've accomplished over the last year. It's how do we keep all of our home-based advisors included and making them feel as if they were just, in the office next door. And so that was one of the things that we had no idea was going to come out of the pandemic. But if anything, we are stronger today than we were going into this at the beginning of 2020. So it was one step back and definitely two steps forward for us.
So there has been a benefit from the pandemic for your travel agent.
Again, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, and I would hate to not have to go through it again. But we, as Matthew Upchurch says, don't waste this crisis, and we definitely did not, and we did everything that we could in order to really kind of strengthen and solidify our position.
Now, of course, the other thing that you did, at least on a personal basis, and also you went on the road, as we talked about. You got an RV and started visiting national parks. Talk a little bit about that and how it worked and how you were able to keep operating your agency from the road.
So last summer, when we kind of had that first false start of things reopening up again, I wanted to take a road trip to try to get the last few states that I had. So at that point in time, I had 43 states. I was missing a lot of the middle ones. So Nebraska and Kansas and Iowa. And at that point in time, no one was traveling. So rental cars were super cheap, and was able to go to Hertz. This is right before they had entered bankruptcy. And maybe this is the reason why they did. But was able to rent a BMW for a week for $235 with unlimited miles. And they lost a lot of money on me, but I was able to go and drive and hit all of those states. And, it just felt, it was after being cooped up for 4 months. It was like, this is amazing. We have so much to offer just in our own backyard. How is there a way that I could possibly do this for real? And so driving, on I-70 kind of, with your own thoughts, you start to see all of these RVs along the road, and you're like, wow, those Sprinter vans could look really cool. And then I started doing some research and watching lots and lots of YouTube videos. And then I was like, well, the largest thing I've ever driven before was a 26-foot U-Haul. So maybe I could look at something like that. And then ended up going and learning more about a 45-foot Class A. And I'm a little snobby. I like, the good things in life. I've been living this virtuoso lifestyle for quite some time. So I ended up with a 45-foot Class A Integra Anthem that has heated Italian floors, full shower, and it was able to be extremely comfortable to be on the road. But the one thing that I think was critical to it is that there is a company called PepWave, and they make mobile routers that take multiple SIM cards. So I was able to get an AT&T card, a Verizon card, a T-Mobile card, and plug all of those in there so that I had, the data and the bandwidth to be able to do Zoom meetings like this. And literally when I left in December of last year, I didn't even tell our team, and I kept using Zoom virtual backgrounds all the way up through February, because I wanted to try this out. I wanted to make sure that I could do this, and I didn't want to tip off that I was doing something a little bit different. And the idea was, how do I get to a spot where I don't have to use the virtual background anymore? I want to use a real one. And so most of my team were kind of there were a handful of few that knew what was going on, but for the most part, none were the wiser, and we were still able to conduct all of our Zoom meetings, our team meetings. I was able to respond the way that I was comfortable doing from my own home in Philadelphia, but now I was in Florida, and then I was in Fort Worth, and then I was out in Yosemite. And so to be able to create this amazing trip across the country where so much of our lives had been 2 nights, 2 nights, and 2 nights, now I was able to spend 2 weeks in a specific destination. So that was really, really kind of special and critically important to be able to do that. And with so many people going to national parks, there's 63 currently, and in the last 8 months, I've been to 27 of them. So just to be able to see some of those firsthand, and then to be able to, as you said, to talk to clients and who are going to them and give them real advice of what's it like to be able to get on the shuttle in Bryce Canyon, or I'm sorry, in Zion, because that's one of the ways in which they limit things. How do the passes work where you have to get reservations for Yosemite and Glacier? We've been able to counsel clients firsthand and again, be true advisors to them because of that firsthand knowledge.
No, that's great. And were you able to make some bookings for your clients in national parks and domestic travel?
Domestic travels has saved our hides this past year, and particularly with the national parks, because when you look at something like Yellowstone, where they are just have been completely full. In talking with clients, what do you want to get out of this trip? What's that feeling that you want to have when you get there? Some of them are saying, I want to avoid some of the crowds, and yet I love the idea of the national park. So in that case, we can talk about Lassen Volcanic, which is in Northern California, that has a lot of the same similar volcanic aspects to it that right. Yellowstone has. It doesn't have anywhere near the animals and the size, but it doesn't have the crowds. Right. So to be able to go in there, not wait in line, we're able to make those recommendations. Glacier National Park in 2019 had 3.5 million visitors. And then in 2020, it had 4.5 million. So to think about the demand that is out there, to be able to help people navigate that in the right way. It's like getting a private guide at Disney. It's something that you have to do and you want to do, but there's a way that you can do it smartly.
No, absolutely. So you were able to expose both yourself to all these wonderful destinations and then sell them on to your customers for last year. So yeah. Let's talk a little bit about how Avenue 2 Travel is emerging from the pandemic. What do you think have been the keys to recovery? Obviously selling domestic, obviously being able to train your travel advisors better. But what are some of the other things that you feel you've gotten as you emerge from this period?
We would not be where we are today if it weren't for communication and, being able to bring our team together. At one point in time, we were meeting at least twice a week. It's not just, me telling the team what's happening, but it's about authentic communication. There were many times where we got extremely vulnerable about the dire situations that we were in. And I think if anything, that unified us closer together. But at the same time, now it's about sharing best practices. It's about talking about, how do we bring the community together to say what's working for you, what's not working for you? How do we be very respectful of a very difficult time for our clients and not be tone deaf, but at the same time, how do we inspire and get them to start thinking about travel again? And how do we communicate to them about what the expectation is today? Because the chances of you getting that top suite or the cabin that you want on that cruise is probably slim to none, because there are a lot of people that are booking way, way far in advance. So how do we get ahead of that curve? So communication has been definitely one of the key aspects to it. But then the other thing is it's reliance on teamwork. We've always been. My mother started this business in the mid '80s. It's a family business, and we continue to treat it that way. We've been able to come out of this stronger. And one of the things I forgot to mention is that we've added 24 new independent contractors since the start of this year alone.
People are interested in. Are these experienced agents or newbies or what?
It's a combination of both, because one of the things we recognized early on is that between furloughs and layoffs, that there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be interested in travel, both inside the industry and outside of the industry. So whether they're suppliers that are coming to us that are coming over to the light side, as we like to say, or whether they're career switchers that are coming there, former attorneys or real estate salespeople that are saying, I've always wanted to travel. This is something that's important to me. You've got a fantastic program to teach me and equip me, as well as the relationships to empower me to make a a great career choice out of this. One of the things that I think differentiate us from others is that, I recognized early on with my mom in the business and me coming in, when I started, we had 4 people in the agency, and that, she had kind of hit a plateau as far as the total number of sales that she had done. So when I took a lot of the management things off of her plate, her sales ratcheted up. When we went and we were able to get her some assistance and some help, her sales ratcheted up. And what we found is that our travel entrepreneurs are fantastic storytellers. They, when they are in front of a client, they do a fantastic job of painting a picture and inspiring people to travel. One of the things that holds them back, however, is invoicing, buying in travel insurance, putting together documents. And so by surrounding our top travel sellers with the right amount of help and support, that they're able to just ratchet up their sales to a higher level. And so that's one of the things where it's about us providing the best travel services to the best travel professionals. And that's really kind of our unique model that we've definitely doubled down on during the pandemic.
No, that's great. And so you discover a lot of new stuff and things and the fact that you added travel advisors is amazing during this period.
Yeah, and again, as I said, it was definitely one step back and then 2 steps forward. But we're in this for the long haul, and I think we're through the worst of it. We're definitely not through it all the way. There's definitely going to be a lot of speed bumps, but we're in a great position at this point to continue to succeed and move forward and grow.
Well, you can handle the speed bumps in the business, and also apparently when the RV hits something. So
yeah, exactly. It's got some nice good shocks to it, so it's comfy ride.
Let's talk a little bit. How did Virtuoso help you get through this pandemic period? Did you turn to any programs that they had, and which ones, if so, resonated best?
Virtuoso has been invaluable throughout this, again, just to reinforce the relationships that we have with our supplier partners, to be able to do a number of the virtual events that they had, culminating now into Virtuoso Week this past week. But also, Virtuoso is not just about the give and take between us and the suppliers and the clients, but how do we network with other entrepreneurs? How do we do other travel agency owners? Mm-hmm. So to be able to sit down in small groups and say, what's working for you? Oh, have you applied for EIDL? Well, what about PPP? Well, how is unemployment working in your state? How do you have those difficult conversations with your team to make sure that you can get through this to the other side? I think those are the things that were invaluable over the last 18 months that, to try to go it alone, to try to be out there on your own, would have been far more difficult. And I'm not quite so sure that we would be here today if we didn't have those resources to draw upon.
No, absolutely. And it's nice that they were there to back you up, although you apparently discovered a lot of things about your own agency during this period that were going to help you.
But remember, James, the reason why we're here where we are today is because we've been a part of Virtuoso since 1999. Right. And so even before the pandemic, what they enabled us to do in order to scale and to grow and to put our team in place to weather the storm was critical, and we would not have otherwise been there. Like I said, when I started, we had 4 people, and so a lot of the growth and a lot of the credit is definitely due to Virtuoso.
Now let's talk a little bit about what's selling now in terms of for the rest of this year and into 2022. I'm going to talk first about the types of travel, then we'll talk about destinations. But what are the things that are resonating with your customers, both for the rest of this year and obviously into 2022?
Well, leisure is definitely leading the way, although we are seeing some glimmers of hope, particularly on the corporate side, some business transient as well as group business that's coming back. But let's just kind of focus on the leisure side. All of our clients, our full portfolio of people, have not returned. So we definitely have a smaller group of clients that are traveling, but they are paying more and they are staying longer.
Got it.
And so we're able to kind of make up for that third that is still a little hesitant to hit the road just yet by higher ADRs and longer trips. And it's primarily domestic, and I'm going to use that term very very loosely, in that it's not just the continental United States, but Hawaii is fully on board. I feel that, Mexico is definitely a part of that, and the Caribbean has been our saving grace through all of this.
Right.
And then within the last 6 weeks, Europe opening up has been, fantastic, not just for future bookings, but also very, very short in. And one of the things that's really interesting is that 30% of our bookings are within 5 days of departure. Wow. So that's just because
booking window has really been compressed, right?
It's really compressed. And then the other piece is that, if I look at about the other 40%, there's a 40% that's probably, 6 to 9 months out in advance as we book into 22 and 23. What that short close in booking window indicates is that, just as we said before, it's the unknown and not knowing what's going to happen. Those close-in bookings are because people are saying things can change on a dime. They can change any day. And we've become experts, not just in country and state, but now county and sometimes city policies as far as the pandemic goes. But by booking close in, the chances of those changing are pretty slim to none. And that clients are pretty much assured that they're going to be able to go away and travel.
So you've already sort of answered this, but in terms of destinations, you started domestically and now you're seeing glimmers of hope in Europe and definitely for 2022. Any other places in the world that are really resonating with your customers? Booking travel?
World cruise and top cruise segments, for our intrepid, diehard cruisers. It's like buying Rolling Stones concert tickets. Like when certain segments or certain itineraries open up in the morning, you've got to be on the line at 8:00 because those are going to be sold out within 40 minutes or so. So we've had a number of our advisors, set double and triple alarms in order to get on the phone and with reservations to get those top cabins and top suites. Africa is also another area where we're seeing, there are many Singita camps that are completely sold out. And so we've had to be very, very careful with our clients to set expectations as far as having an A, a B, and in some cases a C, D, E, and F backup plans to make sure that we can get them what they want, or at least have something. Because the worst thing that can possibly happen is we plan something now, 9 months from now, and we get to a point where, something again, unforeseen happens, so some policy changes, and then that one trip that they'd had their hopes on for so long ends up having to be postponed. And then they don't have anything. So for us to make sure that we've got backup plans to a number of things has been critically important to making sure that our clients can at least go somewhere.
No, absolutely. Now, I guess overall, obviously this has been probably the most devastating thing that's happened to travel ever. We used to think about, 9/11, the recession. We talk about these things. I certainly haven't lived through anything like this. But what are the lessons you've learned from this experience that you think will help you going forward?
I think if you can live through this, then we should be able to live through anything. It's given us a focus, a perseverance. It's made us all a little bit harder, and at the same time, it has also given us a greater appreciation for what an amazing industry that we work and live in. I think it's given our clients a greater appreciation for wanting to travel. And for us, our ethos is that travel is a force for good. And how can we, send our clients all over the world and experience great things where they have the opportunity to interact with new cultures, be exposed to new ideas and try new things. And that just makes us better humans overall. So then when that's taken away from us and that we don't have the ability to do that, particularly for 18 months, like I said, I feel that we just appreciate it that much more. And I think that we're all just thankful to be in such an amazing industry where we can provide those experiences to people.
No, absolutely. I think we all appreciate travel that much more now. And hopefully people will want to come back and travel despite, we may be living with this one way or the other for quite some time. We're just going to have to figure out ways around it. And otherwise, everybody's going to just stay home and, which
and what fun is that?
Really, I mean, you obviously made the call from the beginning. You didn't want to just stay home. You wanted to go on the road, and whether that was on an RV or in a BMW or whatever, you kept going.
And I think that though, James, you just hit the nail on the head, which is this is the new normal. This is not something that's going to happen or change overnight. And personally, for me, all politics aside, I think it's how do we look at having a balance between protecting the general public health, as well as having the therapeutic properties that come with human interaction and being able to travel the world. And so I think that there's a balance that we can do. And so one of the jobs that we have as the stewards of this industry is to teach our clients how to travel responsibly. We've just extended the mask mandate on all federal transportation through January of this year. That nobody likes it, but at the same time, what a minor inconvenience it is to get to the end reward of being able to travel and continue to see the world. So for me, I'm okay with that. Let's travel responsibly. Let's travel in the right way, and continue to protect people, but we can't take that freedom away from us altogether.
Absolutely. Although right now I face the problem of I got to get a new set of masks because I almost had gotten through all of them. I keep losing them all over the place. So I got to get. It seemed like
in so many stores, going into the summer, particularly when the mandate was lifted, they all went on the bargain shelves in Target and Gap and things like that. And so I feel like they're now being brought back, and that the discounts of 50 to 75% off a 3-pack isn't there anymore. So
yeah, I'm going to have to go back there because my first mask was actually a ripped up T-shirt from Target. I just ripped it up and I had a little, bandana around my face for a while, but then I graduated to more sophisticated masks over time. But now, we had as we ran down here in New York, I haven't had to use them as often, but in my own building today now, they want to have masks back. So we'll see what happens. And again, as you said, it's a small price to pay. I'll be taking a lot of airline flights in the next few months, and it'll be masked. So we'll see what happens. Now, overall, do you think the next time we get through this crisis, I don't want to even mention that, but is it going to be easier for you? Have you learned a lot of stuff that you'll be able to get through the next one?
I think economy of scale, the lessons that we've learned, the ability, like I mentioned before, communication is key. And I also think that, some of it is the badge of courage that we've lived through this, right? We've all earned this now. So to be able to go through it again, I feel like we've been through the darkest days. And so again, it's about perseverance and keeping that laser focus on what's important. We'll definitely be able to handle any bump in the road that is thrown at us, because again, if anything is that we do know is that things are going to change, and we've gotten really good at adapting and pivoting. Who would have thought that pivot would become such a word that we use almost in every paragraph of every sentence of these days. So but we're good at this stuff now.
Yeah, well, now we all have to get those T-shirts that say "I survived COVID-19 and COVID-20 and now 21." Yeah. we'll figure it out. But anyway, anything else you want to get out to your fellow travel advisors out in the market there, both Virtuoso and not?
I mean, I guess the thing is that it was a little over cliched at the very beginning of this about how we're all in this together, but it's so true. And we're doing good things. We're making dreams come true for our clients. We're enabling them to get on the road and see what an amazing world we live in. So, if nothing else, keep on keeping on, and let's get through this. And we've got definitely brighter days ahead and a lot of pent up demand that's going to keep us really, really busy for at least the next 5 or 10 years. Absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to it, and looking forward to seeing you again on the road somewhere. You said you're actually going to be heading back to the office one of these days. I'm slowly going to be starting making the way back east. Great. Well, Josh, or I should say Joshua, to make your mother happy. We're looking forward to seeing you again. I don't know if you're thinking about doing the Virtuoso Symposium in Vienna. I just talked to Matthew Upchurch of Virtuoso, and he's gung-ho. He thinks it's going to happen. So we're hoping. I will be there. I will definitely be there. So we'll have a live interview there with you and I, and we'll say, look, here we are. Great. We finally made it to Vienna after 2 years. So that's because I have to tell you, I was at Virtuoso in 2000 when they renamed it.
way back when, and it was I was all set to celebrate that a year ago this past March, and of course that was the beginning. That was actually the first trip that got canceled for me.
Correct.
I didn't get to go.
Yes, it was, and I remember. So I sit on the board for Virtuoso and grappling with that issue. Matthew has a lot on his shoulders, and what an amazing visionary and what a leader he is to be able to make some of those difficult calls when he needs to. And that was the right decision back then. And I'm so glad that we're going to be able to recreate it and do it again just in a couple months. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in Austria.
Absolutely. So next time in Vienna, as they say. So we'll see you hopefully this October. Josh, again, thank you for taking the time away from your roaring fire in the background there, and we'll be good to see you in October. So take care.
Thanks.
I'm James Schillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.